Hey guys, welcome to Lovecast the podcast reviews. Today we'll be reviewing the Taiwanese film Your Name Engraved Herein. I'm your host Alexa, and with me are my co-hosts Pixie and Kayla.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello. So Your Name Engraved Herein, it is a coming-of-age film set in the late 1980s in Taiwan, set in the period just after martial law had ended in the country. And it follows Jiahan and Birdie, who are two guys who go to a Christian high school in Taiwan. And it kind of follows Jiahan recounting almost his experience of falling in love with Birdie and trying to navigate those feelings. And obviously, a time where being out and open and gay wasn't allowed and okay, and trying to figure out what Birdie feels for him and everything like that. So I would say it's pretty much a coming of age film of him like trying to navigate that whole experience while still being in high school and in a country where being gay at the time was still not something that people like to openly discuss. And it's about 2 hours long, and you can watch it on Netflix with subtitles. So, our general spoiler free thoughts on the film.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
It's a very sad film,
Yeah.
which is right up my alley. If you're going to watch it, be prepared to cry and be in a lot of emotional distress. But yeah, it follows pretty much like my favorite storytelling format, which is following someone throughout their whole life, basically coming of age, like you said. So it's just really interesting to me how, it depicted their high school days and then their lives kind of apart and then them coming together eventually. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but yeah, I just really like how the story is told. Like, I think the story is probably the strongest aspect of this movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I definitely like it. I think I watched it maybe like a month and a half ago at this point, and I've just been like itching to talk about it ever since because it's just like one of those movies that really just like you have to sit and reflect on it. And I definitely had to be like prepared to watch it. Like it's been on my radar for a long time, but like I just was like not in the right mind space for a film like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I watched it, like I got to like the halfway point in the movie and I had to like stop and take a 15-minute break because I was just like so wrapped up in Jiahan's emotions and like these feelings and like this anxiety he was having that was like stressing me out. But like it was so well done, but I just had to like stop and be like, okay, we're taking a breather and then we're going back in. But like, yeah, it was beautifully done. I'm the same way. I kind of am a sucker for like sad, kind of artsy, indie type vibe films, and this definitely had that going for it.
I think like it was very aesthetically in a dark way,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
which I really like because this isn't a fairy tale. It's not a fantasy. It's a raw emotions and just a more accurate representation on
Yeah.
how it would be to like be in a gay relationship or be gay at that time
Mm-hmm.
in the 1980s. So I think like it does a good job in showing humanity,
Mm.
and I really like that. Like there's still BL elements in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's very much more leaning towards queer media.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely like do not go into it expecting like Pixie was saying, like your typical fantasy BL type.
Mm.
It definitely, like you said, definitely has those elements, and you definitely do have those moments where you're kind of like squealing over them type thing, but
Mm.
it's very raw and very emotional. And I would say, I kind of mentioned this before, I would call it more of an open ending than a happy ending per se. So like
Mm.
I don't think everything comes together perfectly in the end. And so like I think from that aspect it does have a lot more realism in it, and not necessarily as much as the fantasy that people typically see when they're watching BL.
Yeah, I think it's like balancing the line pretty well as well, that like even if you're not into queer media, you'll still enjoy this if you like BL. Because
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who watch BL who don't really dip their feet into queer media because it's sort of a little rougher around the edges. But this is like, it's a good door to, like, if you want to experience the other side of things, right? It's a good way to get into more of the other side.
Yeah, I kind of in that way is like Gaia soft Pellicula, I would say, and something that kind of like branches and does have like its happy moments, but also brings a lot more of the actual queer experience into it, and kind of giving people a look into that as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, this movie reminds me of, I don't know if you guys know this movie, but it's one of my favorite, I guess, BL or queer movies, and it's this Korean movie called Night Flight.
Yes.
It reminds me a lot of Night Flight.
Oh my god, yeah, I watched that movie so many years ago.
Same. But just, you know, the dark themes behind their school days and just not straying away from all of the struggles that they're going through because of their sexuality and how forbidden it is at the time, and just feeling like there's no other choice but to live separately.
Yeah, I can definitely see those similar. I think that a lot of, especially on the Korean side of things, a lot of their queer films tend to follow that same. And I think in general, just because I think there's this, I don't know if trend's the right word, but people want to show the real experience of being queer. So a lot of the times it does trend to stray on the darker side of things.
Yeah.
So a lot of like the Asian queer like indie films and smaller films that I've watched do kind of feel like this. And obviously I don't know what it's like to grow up queer in an Asian country. It's a lot different than growing up queer in America. So I'm sure they're bringing a lot of their own experiences and struggles that's from that specific place where they grew up into it too. Do we want to go ahead and give our ratings for it on our scale of 1 to 5?
I'm going to say like 4.5 because I really do love the story and how raw it is and how real. And like I said, I like sad stuff. I really like bittersweet endings and those type of endings that are open-ended. But I mean, it is a lot like movies that we've seen before. Like it follows the same type of formula as, like I said, like Night Flight. So it is a really like beautiful movie visually. And I think there's a lot of symbolism in it that even I missed watching it, that I might have to go back and watch. But yeah, I would give it a 4.5 because of that.
Yeah, for me, I'm at a 4, just because personally, I really don't like not feeling satisfied at the end. Like open endings make me not satisfied, right? I feel like I'm missing something. I know it's actually the whole point of the movie, but it's still, it left me just, I'm just, I need some satisfaction.
You're like, where's the rest?
Yeah. And I know that's just like a personal preference, and it's like nothing to the movie. Like the movie was done so well and it's so beautiful and all that. But yeah, I just personally at the end I didn't feel satisfied, and I wished I did.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, for me, I would probably put it at a 5. I don't know what it was about it, but I think it just really resonated with me. And I think it had been a while since I had watched something like that, maybe. And so, like, it's just like really, and maybe like if we did this like a couple months down the line, or I rewatched it, my opinion would be different. But like I don't know, right now it's just like so prominent in my mind, and like I keep thinking of certain scenes from it and like listening to the soundtrack and stuff like that, and it holds like a really like poignant place in my heart right now. So I think I would put it at a 5 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like the soundtrack too.
Yeah. Yeah, I listen to the Your Name Engraved Herein song like every day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is going to be it for our spoiler-free portion of the review. If you guys are listening on YouTube and you're interested in hearing the full review, you can find it over on our Patreon at the Lovecaster tier and above. And be sure to comment down below what you thought of the film, if you watched it, and any series or films you'd like to see us review in the future.